following show is for comedy only and is purely for the sake of entertainment. The stories, characters, and people affiliated with this show talk about hypothetical situations for laughs. Listener discretion advised.
San Quentin, what good do you think you do? Do you think I'll be different when you're through? You bend my heart and mind and you warp my soul. Your stone walls turn my blood a little cold. San Quentin, may you rot and burn in hell.
Hello?
I said, what's going on, man?
Yeah, we can hear you, buddy.
Okay. Not much.
How's your day? How's the car?
Slow, but I got it done without too much drama, so.
Okay. All right. I was just talking to Kato, and I was saying that the reason why we're having you on is because I was listening to this, actually to another show, and they were talking about how these wokeists, like these woke like progressives, are trying to pander to the working class, the proletariats, and the blue collar workers. And I was thinking these guys aren't convincing anyone. They're like, who are they kidding, trying to sell all this woke pandering bullshit to construction workers and shit. And I figured, now what am I doing? How do I go about talking to my coworkers about this? So you talked to me a little bit after the last episode we recorded together on my show about some of what you do. And we're in the same field. I mean, do you talk to your coworkers about this stuff?
Like, to the point, like, they're annoyed with it.
Okay, so I mean, like, how did you start bringing it up?
Oh, well, I've done it several ways. I found the best way is usually to wait for them to bring up a subject or start talking about a subject that they're pissed about, where I can preach a non-government type of thing. Taxes are by far one of the easiest because no one likes paying it.
Okay.
So when I hear them bitching about taxes, then I just they could be across the room and I'll make my way over there and just try to work my way into the conversation.
So you're known as the politics guy now at work. Does anyone really argue with you on it?
My most recent thing, like, I was working around a lot of Sparkies, and for the most part, we all would agree about it. Like, start with taxes or the COVID or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I found it's better to, like, lead them along, they start bitching. Yeah, that's bullshit. Yeah, that's bullshit. And then throwing, did you know this? Yeah, that's bullshit too. And just keep adding on a little of what they're already pissed about and trying to give them some facts and whatnot to make them more informed.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where people, I don't know, I'm like a unicorn in their world. And so they'll go, hey man, did you see this on the news the other day? Yeah, I saw it. Hey, what'd you think about it? Well, this is bullshit and that's bullshit and this and this and this. Oh yeah, that's neat. Okay, what about this? Did you see this on the news? Roll my eyes. Yeah, I saw it. And we go through the whole process over and over, like a nightmarish merry-go-round.
I mean, I have anarchy A's and voluntary V's, like, written on a lot of my tools, so I know someone doesn't steal them.
Okay.
Like, it's blatantly out in the open. No one ever asked me about them, but, like, they're there. Like, if I take my tape measure off and I drop it on there, there's a big fucking anarchy A with a circle around it right there.
I'm always a little nervous. Like, they got me hopping from different crews to different crews. And so, like, some of the time I know that some people on that crew or on that, job site. So most of the time I don't. So it's like starting this process repeatedly over and over and over again. And I'm always hesitant to say something because, like, the owners of the company is a small company. The owners of the company are hardcore Christians. And a lot of the foremen are related to them, and they're also like hardcore Christian conservative Republicans, like, and they're Trumpitarians, like, or not Trumpitarians, they're Trump-servatives. That's the word. I've got libertarian stuck in my head today. But so that, like, if you question the wars, you question the police state, they jump down your throat a little bit. But it always seems to come out somehow. How did you first start introducing yourself to it? Like to the work, like to your fellow workers? Do you always start the conversation like that even from the beginning?
It's kind of a progression. Like, I haven't always known as much as I do now, so I couldn't have always started it the same way. And like I said, it's been a work in progress. Like, I'm sure some ways I just right away with the most over the top, most extreme, like, did you know this? This is bullshit. And like just trying to challenge their beliefs as much as possible. And I don't think in any situation where if you just give someone a fact that totally challenges everything they've ever been taught, does it start off well? And it usually doesn't end well, because if it's based into their upbringing, to overthrow it in a 5-minute conversation is never going to happen.
So, I mean, how do they usually react to you kind of like bringing this new shit up? I mean, do you mainly work with Republicans, Democrats, what?
Oh, it's a mix. It's a mix. The majority are usually apolitical. Most of them don't, even the ones that voted in this last election, most of their life they're apolitical. They don't talk about politics. So of course there's the Trumpsters, and then there's the hardcore Democrats. See, what was the original question? Like, what
how do they usually take it? Like this, I mean, the shit that we talk about, not many people talk about. It's kind of a new concept to a lot of people, especially in our lines of work, or actually in any line of work. But
different people take it different ways. The one guy I'm working with a lot right now, like if I talk badly about cops, he's all about it. He can't stand cops. He worked as a fireman for a while, and he's like, dude, cops are just dicks. They treat people horribly. Now, if you say that to someone who's got a fucking thin blue line flag on their car, they're not as receptive. I did have where a guy I worked with, his son is a cop.
Oh shit.
And I know he is, and I don't even bring it up to him. Like, I understand his son's a cop, and it's just gonna start a fight.
Yeah.
Well, one day is right at the end of the day, and I'm working on a crew I only worked with a couple times, and I was only there for the day. It was the end of the day, and we were talking about COVID shots or test about getting tests. It was right around like Thanksgiving when there was a big spike and everyone was getting it, and people needed tests. And he said something like, my son can't get one, and he's a cop.
Oh, okay.
And and I just calmly, and I'm in a room with like 8 other guys, and I know a couple of them are cop suckers. And I go,
Okay.
well, what makes him so special that he should be privileged to get them before anyone else?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, he protects you. And I go, he doesn't protect me. I protect myself. I'm like, that's why I carry. If I need him, he's not going to be there. Well, all these cop suckers also carry themselves. Even the dude whose son's a cop. And well, they all agree with that. And I'm like, how do you expect a cop to be there when you need them? I'm like, that's just impossible. And they're like, yeah, you're supposed to protect yourself.
If you're agreeing with us, then why are you still clinging to this notion that they're there to protect you? If you're agreeing that no, they don't protect me, I protect me because I carry, and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah. Okay, now what's the argument? You know?
That's what they've been told all their lives. It's not necessarily their fault. You just have to teach them methodically how that's not the case.
Well, and to me, it was a little bit of a win, like making them realize in front of everyone, hey, cops aren't here to protect you. You know that. Let's say it out loud together. Like, you wouldn't carry that gun on you if you thought a cop was always going to be able to protect you. Okay, so right there, it's a win. We can all agree cops aren't here to protect us. And then you can move on from the conversation. Not always right away, and don't go right into how every cop's a bastard. You just hit them with that, you start hitting them with some facts. Well, it's a 10-minute average wait for cops to get there. If you call 911, you could be dead by then. They agree with that. Okay. All right, now let's be realistic. If they're not here to protect you, what are they doing? You don't like when they give you speeding tickets, do you? Oh, no, hell no. Who wants that?
My problem is when I talk about the wars, because a lot of them are vets too, and so and all the owners are vets too, and so it's just I'll bring up the wars. And, oh well, they hate us for our freedoms. All right, and then I'll just go through and talk about war just from the 90s up in the Middle East, and well, they still just hate us for our freedoms. Like, all right, man, I guess I'm not gonna get you on this.
Yeah, like I said, and the only experience I really have with military and anti-government is through social media, like the biting the bullet guys.
Yeah.
So I try to stay away from talking about the military with vets.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the experience. I can't go, well, from here. But when I do talk about it, it's just like, oh, well, yeah, the government's really fucked up on this and they're inefficient. Yeah, they are. Man, they really don't take care of you guys after you get out, do you? No, they fucking don't. Like that's bullshit.
I will say that the lefties and the righties both have the same energy when it comes to at least when it came to the presidential elections. Like, man, one of my coworkers went off on the foreman because he was like, "Oh, Joe Biden, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you're a racist." And I said, I kind of stopped on my tracks and I went through 94 crime bill. I don't want my kids living in a racial jungle. Just everything that he's done. Like, he pretty much supported segregation. Like, I just went through all the list. Well, it was the 94 crime bill. And like, he probably said this a long time ago. Well, I mean, yeah, but you think those thoughts just go away because it, socially unacceptable? No, you're just racist. He's racist too. The foreman's racist. You're racist. All right.
You already lost that conversation.
Yeah, I can't save you, man. I'm not trying to sound pretentious,
well,
like I'm here to save you, but I can't convince you that you're wrong.
Yeah, so I've definitely learned to take a softer approach. Like, I don't bring anything up. Never do. You know what? Eventually something's going to come up where I get my chance to start. And like I said, the guy I work with every day, like, he just laughs now. The second, and whether I've said anything that day or like not even in the last week, his response is always, see what I got to put up with all day, every day. And he just makes a joke about it.
Yeah.
Because he gets to hear it all the time.
Oh yeah, if I'm on a crew long enough and someone will bring something up from the news, everyone will stop and just turn. They'll see if I have something to say. Nope. Listen to my music. I'm working. I'm putting in the installation. Don't mind me. If you have,
Rezzy,
you have a question, I'll answer.
Rezzy, where do you work, by the way?
I'm a plumber.
Okay.
Do like commercial, industrial stuff. I've kind of done it all. Everything from residential, new construction, service, all the way up.
And during that time, based on what we're talking about, have you actually turned anybody to kind of your train of thought on things successfully?
I can't say I've ever turned anyone and had someone go from being completely one way to mine, but I know I've left some people thinking differently.
And that's the important part.
Yeah, maybe changing some views they had. Usually small little stuff.
Small little stuff like what?
It's different for every different person, no matter what we're talking about, whether they're a leftist or a rightist, like, well, cops don't protect you, or, the military's kind of fucked. Like, we definitely shouldn't be bombing people. Depending on who you're talking to, some people go, yeah, you know what? You are right about that. And just knowing that I've changed one viewpoint, one small viewpoint they had, because I'm not around them all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to convert anyone, but if you can just start get them to thinking different.
What's the easiest thing you can get them to go with?
Oh, taxes, by far. Like, they start with, income tax. Well, property tax is bullshit. You know what? Property tax is bullshit. And then you'll say, oh, well, this is bullshit. And they're like, oh, well, no. They'll pick a tax that they like. And then if you break it down, well, you know, we think we could do this cheaper and more effectively through the free market without anyone wanting to show up to your door and take you to jail. Like I said, by far, taxes the easiest to get through because people have a pre-notion of already hating taxes.
If you want them to really hate taxes, tell them to assign their withholding status to let them get everything all year and then actually have to pay their taxes at the end of the year instead of that auto enrollment. Like if everybody in the country did that, like there'd be a revolution next year, you know?
Well, I've come across a few guys that like claim like 9 dependents or 12 dependents or something ridiculous so that they don't actually pay taxes. And then after like 4 or 5 years, they got busted and then had to deal with like the one electrician I was talking to, like they took a house from him. They went into his, what's the boxes they have at the bank?
Oh, safety or security deposit box?
Yeah, safety deposit box. They went into his safety deposit box and took all his valuables out.
Damn.
And like sold them at auction, kept any cash that was in there.
So the theoretical stance of like what a bank is supposed to be, which is to protect your assets, just with a wave of a wand, the government just can take it.
Instantly. All the IRS has to do is make a phone call or send a letter, and the bank will do whatever the IRS says. They freeze your assets instantly.
Fuck banks.
Wow, the mafia really gets theirs, don't they?
Yeah.
Wow. You ever have someone get mad at you?
Yes.
How often?
Less now because I've learned to take stuff a little easier. And then because I do have to work around these people, and just having someone really pissed at you all the time isn't a great work environment for me. So I've learned to take it a little easier and notice when they're starting to get pissed and then try to pull it back. Because like I said, I still got to fucking go to work every day, and having everyone pissed at me ain't worth it.
You always have the same crew, or is it different crew, different job site?
Different crew, different job site. Like guys I work with my company come and go. Like the past year I've been working with this one guy every day, but then we go to different job sites, or like the job sites that we're normally on, different crews come in. Sometimes we need more help, so we bring more guys from our company. Like sometimes like we get different crews of pipe fitters coming in that work for my company, but I'm not a pipe fitter, so technically they don't work with me, but they work for the same company.
So you really get a chance to practice, you know? Oh,
yes.
Well, this didn't work on this crew, so I won't try that one again.
Yes, and through different companies and job sites, like I've had some people get pretty pissed.
Like, okay, what was the worst one?
I've had a couple, like back when Trump was being elected. Oof. Like people were split both ways. Okay. And I didn't like Hillary or fucking Trump. So, and I wasn't as practiced back then. So I would just come out with the worst shit. Well, you know about this, and they just get, you know how emotional people are about their political fucking masters.
Yeah. Oof. I had a guy who was just fucking like pointing and fucking screaming. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. All right.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
All right.
It's definitely escalated to like that. And then I pull back because obviously I'm not trying to start violence with the person. Like I said, I've learned some people you're just never going to change. I don't know what percentages that is, 10, 25%, whatever. Like some people, to them, it's more physically damaging to hear the truth than to keep hearing the lies. Like they just cannot ever accept the fact that they've been lied to their whole life. And it's easier for them to just keep going on with the lie. So like those people, I just try to stay away from anymore, even on social media. Like if you realize you're not changing anyone's opinion, I got to move on. I'm not going to listen to your same crappy arguments I've heard a million times.
Yeah.
Well, the internet's definitely the worst. But be persistent with those in your community, like those who work with your neighbors, people in your town. That's one thing that's ever really going to work in the long run.
Yeah. And like I have to say, like the people I work with might not know how extreme I am, but they know when they see me that, like Flintlocks was saying, like the second a news thing comes up, they look to him to see what he's going to say. So, you know, I'm at least making it known, hey, these are my political beliefs. If you want to talk about them, we can. But this is me. Like, don't, like, I'm not trying to hide shit. I'm not, you know, we shouldn't have wars. Every politician is a criminal and a liar.
You ever
And so
reveal
forth.
yourself? Like,
What do you mean?
hey, I'm an anarchist, or
Like I said, I got a big Anarchy A on my fucking tape
oh yeah,
measure
that's right.
that I wear all the time. Like, no one ever says anything about it. And then like my level that I use every day has a big V on it.
Yeah, has
So
anyone ever found out you're Rezzy?
No, I've never even been asked about it. So
What do you think? How would you react if they did?
I'd be happy, because if they knew me, chances are they agreed.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think there's that many people who disagree with my beliefs that are listening to the podcast. They would figure it out, because that's the giveaway. Like, if you've heard my voice,
Yeah.
you're gonna probably know me. I've been told it's very distinctive.
Yeah, that hasn't concerned me about coworkers I have now, because I have had people find the show. But past soldiers and past COs, that would make me uncomfortable. Just hit me up out of nowhere. Hey, I think I heard you on something.
It's like you're on a PBS special.
Yeah, that would be uncomfortable.
I heard
That
your
would be
voice.
really unfortunate.
I mean, I've told guys I work with that I have a podcast, but never like told them what the podcast was or where to find it or anything like that.
Ooh. I mean, how would you feel if someone started listening to the podcast regularly?
That I work with?
Yeah, like a
Oh,
coworker.
I would love it, because if they're listening to it regularly, then at some point we have some kind of common ground that I can work with. That would be awesome. I wish I knew someone locally who listened to our podcast.
We should tell people locally about your podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly.
What's that?
I said you should tell them about your podcast then. If you're confident that what you are going to be doing isn't going to put at risk your job or your livelihood, then absolutely.
Like, I'm in a lucky position. I have a skill set that's pretty fucking good and is really hard to replace in this day and time. Plus,
Oh, yeah.
I can get along with people at work because I know it's my job. And I got a good rapport with the owner of my company. Like, it would be I don't know if I could ever get fired for doing something just politically. Like, I'd have to do something physically that pertained to violence before they would even consider getting rid of me. So I have that. Not everyone's got that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like, if you are in a uncomfortable position with, you know, politics at work, I don't recommend doing that at all, for sure. I'm a former political
if they
science
did
major.
fire
I
me
can't
for
keep
it.
my mouth shut.
And if they did fire me for it, my skill set will get me another job.
That's the great thing about working trades, man. Once you got it, you don't lose it.
Yep.
But is there anything you avoid at work? Like a topic, I mean?
No, I can't think of anything I would. I mean, there's certain people I would avoid topics, but it's like, dude, if it's a big Trumpster and I've talked to the guy before and I know I'm not going to change him, I just stay away from him politically. It's one of those things, like, some people, if they hear me talking politics, they walk away because they're apolitical and don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, if I hear someone going on a rant politically that I know I'm not going to change their mind, I just walk away from it. Like I said, I got better things to do.
Well, you just implant a question in their mind that conflicts with their prior beliefs, and over time that'll eat at them.
Sometimes
some people,
angry,
yes. Yeah. There's a certain group of people that they just get angry. Like, they cannot. It's like a robot.
I'm saying for those kind of people, just drop in a single question, you know, like a big question mark well, if this, then this, which, is going to be contrary to their prior belief, and then just walk away after that and let that simmer for them over time. And I think eventually they'll have a more open mindset once they start to see the contradiction, and you can move in then.
Yeah, but some
No,
people
like I said-
blatantly ignore that. Some people will just straight up like, nah, I don't care about that. I don't care about the
Okay, well, I mean, those
inconsistencies."
people, like, you're not going to help them at all. So
Yeah.
just walk away. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are the ones, like, most people, I will push it to a point where one of us gets upset. If I have the time constraint, and like I will push it till one of us gets upset, and then I leave the situation and I think about it, and I'm like, was that going anywhere? Was that person even savable? Did I do this right? Did I do this wrong? And if I come to the conclusion that they're just stuck in their way and they're never going to change, then I just avoid the whole conflict, because there's other people I can go, you know what? I don't care if I talk to the same guy about fucking bitching about taxes. We can always agree on that, and that's a good conversation.
You oh, I'm sorry, I lost it. I don't know. I lost it. My bad.
Good job.
Like,
Thanks.
with the whole mask thing, like, pretty much anyone I've ever worked with knows that I'm against them, because I have to be yelled at before I'll put it on.
I've seen pretty
So-
much everyone at my work against the masks. That one was pretty easy to sell them on.
Like, there's a couple random guys that decide that they're going to wear their mask and whatever, and they don't say nothing to me, and I don't say nothing to them. Like, wear your mask. Like, worked with them for months, and all of a sudden one time I'm like, they took it off for some reason, and I'm like, dude, you got a mustache? But
Yeah.
that's their thing. I don't bitch at them, they don't bitch at me. Like, I found
2020 was really good for selling people on liberty.
yes, and now at this point in time, anyone's still wearing the mask, I don't even bring it up, because obviously they're set in stone.
Oh yeah. Man, it's a different ball game though at my wife's work. She since she's a pharmatech, everything that they put out about masks and mandates and lockdowns, they just eat it up. I can't talk to her coworkers about it when she drags me out to those work events.
No, because all you're gonna do is upset yourself and upset them, because they're not gonna change your mind, and you're not changing theirs. So when I find myself in those situations, I just avoid. I try to avoid it altogether. Sometimes it turns into a big argument. Like, I got a buddy that's pro mask, like, and even he just doesn't want to hear it, and I'm like, dude, you're stupid. You're stupid for wearing it. Like, you're just. But he's so set in that everything he believes is right, and the government's not going to fuck you, and like, he just don't want to hear it. He wears his mask fucking everywhere he goes, talks about how much he hates it. But if he goes to a restaurant and he's got to go to the bathroom, you better believe he's got that fucking mask on, even though the restaurant's empty. He doesn't have to walk past anyone. He puts the mask on.
Well, he's got to follow the science, man.
Yeah, I love the dude, but so I've just learned not even to bring it up.
It's become
Although
cultish.
it'll come up, and I'll find myself in the middle of a rant, and then just try to change the subject as quick as possible, so I can keep living my life.
I like to remind them of the AZT and AIDS epidemic, because that was Fauci who was running that, and he kept pushing this drug AZT on AIDS patients, and it would just turn their blood toxic. And they had to, like, bunches of them were smuggling drugs from other countries into the border and then like reselling them, and it was like drugs from Mexico and Japan and shit, and they were like way better than AZT. Like, Dr. Fauci killed a shit ton of AIDS patients.
Yes. Like I said, some people don't want to be reminded about that. They didn't care before, and they definitely don't care now. Like, you're not changing their mind.
Yeah, you gotta really know when to call it quits. I mean, that's my only thing when it comes
And
to talking.
all I
about
can say
this at
for that
work.
is experience. You got to piss some people off before you realize where people's limits are with it. Like I said, to this day, I still piss some people off. Don't care.
Yeah.
Fire me. I'll find a new job.
Oh man, you can't fire
Fight
me.
me.
I
We can
quit.
fight about it too.
I just don't fit in. Kato, you got any more questions?
Well, I mean, in general, the type of people, at least online, who pretend to convey themselves with the working class, which is all three of us in this room right now.
Yeah. Well, you used to be.
How do we convince them that the working class want nothing to do with them?
You used to be a working
Because they
class
don't.
guy, man. Now you're fucking bougie
I am.
ass, standing desk, working in an office, asshole.
Standing desk. Well,
Yeah, that's
sometimes I
right.
use a yoga ball.
I'm calling him out.
I still make less than a plumber, so.
Oh, okay. I don't get to work from home, brother.
Yeah.
What was your
I don't
question?
know.
Sorry.
No, it's like how can we convince them like what the working class actually is? Because they're so convinced that they are the working class because they work in a coffee shop. But
Hey, man, sometimes
I
you
don't
have to lift boxes.
Well, technically, I would consider them the working class. The people that
Well,
do service are the working class. They're blue collar.
They are, but they're a very small subsect aligned with very inner city. And
Well, no, actually, the service industry is huge. You're running them motherfuckers all
I'm
the
talking
time.
about the very specific, I don't know, typical leftist
The commies
on the internet. Right. Yeah.
The commies. How do you deal with the commies?
Correct. That's my question. Go on.
Very few. Again, a lot of those you can't change their mind. I worked with a guy who considered himself an anarcho-communist, and before I even knew this, we were talking about being foreman.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't really want to be foreman. He's like, me either. Me either. He's like, I don't want the responsibility. Blah blah blah. It's not worth the money. And I'm like, yeah, for the little bit extra they want to spend, it's not worth the fucking heartache. You know, there's a lot of extra stress that goes in with it. And he's like, yeah. So then I find out the dude's an anarcho-communist. So I'm like, well, who's going to run these businesses? He's like, people will take turns. I'm like, dude, you don't even want to be a foreman. Like, how the fuck, like, let's say you do want to be a foreman. It doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. Like, how the fuck does that work? He didn't have an answer for that.
Did he have any other takes?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to, I worked with the guy for a couple weeks, and it took me a little bit to realize what he was, and then I never got to work with him again.
You think you could have like walked him to that, you know, that last, you know, down the mental route to where you wanted him to go?
I don't think so. This dude was in his like mid to late 30s, and was still an anarcho-communist.
Okay.
So I don't think I could have changed him.
Hey, at least he had that A in front of it. Don't fuck with me, I won't fuck with y'all.
He was really lazy at work.
Oh no.
Is that really what he believes though?
Yeah. Like I said, I would have liked to work with the guy a little more and get a little more information out of him. Like, I'm not a big anarcho unity guy, but I don't get face-to-face conversations with people who call themselves anarcho-communists very often.
Yeah.
So like, or ever. So I wish I would have had more time to just pick the guy's brain. Like, I wish I could have worked with him for a year and just like one day every 2 weeks, like, hey, dude, let's talk politics.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have been friendly about it. I've talked to a couple ANCOM, like legit principled ANCOMs, not like wokus, but ANCOMs online. They seem pretty open. We bust each other's balls still, like, you know, give them a nudge, helicopter joke here, and they'll give you a face the wall there, and everyone laughs at the end of the day and hope the other isn't serious.
Yeah. For the most part, the guy was nice, just like I was. Like, we both understood. And he was happy to tell me about it. And neither of us pushed it to the point where we're going to piss someone else off for the little bit of conversation we did have.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you both say that you'd like less government or no government. And that's nice. That's always nice to find that common ground. You can skip all the rest of the bullshit.
Yeah, he was also pro Antifa. And this was before the whole summer of Antifa, too. Like, so I didn't, like, I'm like, dude, Antifa's, like, they're a horrible organization. I'm like, they're fascists themselves. He's like, no, they're not. They're good. Like, blah, blah, blah blah. The same thing. The whole media pushed all this summer because it was probably like about 3 years ago. I worked with the guy.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have worked with him this summer and heard his thoughts about it, because from my understanding, he's pretty big in the community, whatever community that is that he talks to. I said
Yeah.
I would have loved to hear his ideas more.
Okay.
If nothing else, it just gives me more ammo for my beliefs.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, either you learn something or you have something to hold against someone.
Yep.
What else are you thinking, Kato?
Not much. Not much
No.
goes on in this head. Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
So you're in an office environment now?
No, I mean I work from home. I'm just
Oh, okay.
I'm just not a welder anymore.
Gotcha. No, I was wondering what it was like going from the field to the office, because my wife
Well,
works in an office,
I mean, I
and
work from home now. I never leave the fucking house. So I'm just stuck here at home and Jay
I'm
likes
okay
to
being stuck at home.
tell me
He's
I'm white
losing-
collar now.
Kind of
He's
an
been losing
introvert,
his
so that
mind,
works
though.
for me.
I'm a boss of 0 people. You know,
Perfect.
but that's not blue collar.
I'll have to break you out
Well,
one of these days, buddy.
no, if you're in an office, you aren't blue collar.
Yeah, I know.
Go back to welding, dude.
No, it messed up my body, or it didn't mess up my body. My body's messed up, and I couldn't do it. Well, I mean, I could probably find one that's not, what I was doing, which was working on the Navy ships, but now
No, welding's horrible for you.
Yeah, no, and the only time I really did it was in San Diego. I was working on Navy ships down there, and it was like climbing up really high and like squeezing my body into really tight places that were just hot and whatever, and spending hours in there. Body couldn't do it.
And here's the thing: is those are the welding jobs that pay the best.
Oh, it did. For
Like,
sure. That's why I took it, because I
You
had
know,
an expensive wife, and that was really my only option. So
I thought welding was only bad for you because you were cramped inside small spaces. Is it bad in general? Because I was thinking about going to welding next.
Like the fumes from it are pretty horrible. Like a lot of shit. Like they'll tell you it's not that bad. Like everything in construction is horrible for you. Like the asbestos. As much as they know about asbestos today, they're not really good at removing it before you work on it. The concrete dust, like a couple years back, OSHA made this whole thing about silica dust and everything like that. That kind of gets ignored for the most part anyways. Like that's just horrible for you. Like the welding gases, the fluxes they use, like depending on the metal you're using, and like a lot of times you're jammed in a spot on top of it, or like there's no way to get rid of the fumes. Or there is, and no one wants to pay for them, so you kind of get stuck doing.
Well, I mean, what's wrong with plumbing? Like, what's bad on your body about that?
Well, just the physical labor. Even though I grew up in an era where I never had lead pipes, I still run into a lot of lead. Like the chemicals from gluing pipe together is not great for you. Like nowadays, it's more just the physical abuse on your body.
Yeah. I had to do some PVC to a gutter the other day, and oh man, those fumes were terrible.
Like, dude, I got to the point for a while I didn't even smell them.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. People walk in the house and the key like, oh, you're getting high, you huffing. I'm like, dude, I don't even smell those fumes. I don't know what you're talking about.
They said the same thing about fiberglass, and it's starting to get to the point where I can't feel it on my skin anymore. I think all the pores are clogged.
Yeah, you build up an immunity to it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Thank God. You get tired of itching.
Yeah, Jesus.
But that fiberglass is horrible for you. It's like silica dust, man. It gets into your fucking lungs.
Yeah.
Like that's where you need the SN95 mask.
Yeah. You want to talk about mask, that's where you need it.
Yeah. That silica dust, fucking any of those kind of dust, or like have finer particles. Asbestos.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to consider what I'm gonna do next. I might continue doing roofing for a while, but my knees are fucking killing me.
Yeah, dude, roofing's one of the hardest jobs out there, man. I was just working with a bunch of roofers doing like commercial industrial roofing, and all they did was repairs. They didn't do any new installs.
Oh Jesus, I hate repairs, man.
That's all they did. I worked with them for like a couple months because they would cut up a section every day and have to get it back in before the day was over.
Hmm.
And every time they came to a roof drain, I had to be there. They'd cut around it. I'd cut the roof drain out, put a new roof drain in, make the connection, and then they'd roof back around it all in the same day. And every one of those guys looked 10 to 20 years older than they actually were.
Yeah,
Like, dude,
they all look terrible.
in the sun all day, working 10, 12 hours days all the time, huffing fucking tar fumes and PVC fumes and the glues from the fucking roof adhesives.
Oh yeah, and it gets everywhere and it gets all over your skin and it fucking, oh man, it smells. But I don't know, man. I like when I have a kid, I don't know if I want them to go to college or go in a trade. And when I initially got out of college, I said a trade, and now I don't know. What do you push your kids to do?
I try to push my kids to do what makes them happy.
Oh, okay. I mean,
they like I tell them, get a job. That's my big thing. All right, you're done with high school, get a fucking job. And then figure out what you want to do. Like my daughter, my oldest, she was going to community college. Like right away, she thought she wanted to go to college. And I'm like, you know what? Your grades weren't that good. I'm like, they're better than mine. Yeah, you had like a 2.8, 3.0. But I'm like, that's not like, I'm like, you have no idea what you want to do. I mean, get a fucking job. Start figuring out what you want to do. When you get bored with that job, get another one. She kept the same burger flipping job for like 4 years. And now like she's like, I'm gonna get a job at a golf course this summer. I'm like, cool. I'm like, you're gonna have a great time. I'm like, do it. You know what? There's places you can go in golf courses that you can make a ton of money. Like you don't need a college degree to do it. Like you can run their restaurant, or you can run their pro shop, or you could take a 2-year class in community college and become a horticulturist and be in charge. I'm like, or you could find out that you don't want to do any of those, but you're not going to figure that out going to a classroom every day. You have to actually go do the work. I'm like, if you want to go to school while you're doing it, that's fine. And I also told her, like, when you're done with your 2-year community college, get a job in something. If you think you want to be an engineer, get a job in an engineering place. I don't care if you're in the mailroom, if you're mopping fucking floors, if you're a receptionist. I mean, you're going to be around the engineers.
Yeah.
And if you want to, if you work there a couple of years and decide you still want to do engineering, guess what? A lot of those companies will help pay for your education.
Get a job.
Get a job. And you know what? Hey, get a job in the trades. You might find out you don't like it. You might find out you like it. At least you're making good money doing it.
Trade jobs are the new boom for sure. Everyone was convinced over the past 30 years that they have to go to college, and everyone's trying to get white collar jobs, and the ones that pay the best are the trade jobs right now and will be for the foreseeable future. Because majority of the workforce, they come out of university and then they put all those psychological issues in their bio, and they just assume they're supposed to be making 6 figures doing fuck knows what. I don't know. But,
oh, dude, I'm 41 years old. So, I graduated high school over 20 years ago. And even then, it was pushing towards college. My mom told me my whole life I had to go to college. My dad didn't even really, whatever. Then as I got older and I was like in high school, my dad told me, he's like, you don't have to go to college. You do have to have a job.
I wish my dad.
He was like, college ain't for everyone. But all those years of my mom telling me I had to go to college, and then the public school system telling me I had to go to college, I was fucked up for a couple years thinking I was doing the wrong thing. Well, it turns out, as far as jobs go, and a guy who barely passed high school, like, I enjoy my job. I don't hate it every day going to work. Like, it's work. Who wants to go there every day? But like, I've had jobs where I wake up and detest going, and that's the worst. I can't handle that. Some people will endure that for years. Me, I have to quit and find somewhere I'm happy with. And I'm happy being a plumber and being in the blue collar. I get a lot of accomplishment for building things with my hands.
There's a
Like,
different
it's the
kind of
whole
feeling when you can look back at a product that you made just now and think, wow, I did that.
huge sense of accomplishment. And I've been reading Ted Kaczynski's manifesto.
Really?
Yes,
Heyo.
yes. And the whole part of it, at least as much as I've read so far, he's just talking about people's places in society and not having fulfillments.
So you'd recommend
And
it?
being, well, yeah. Well, I've only read like 70 some of the paragraphs. There's a few hundred, if not 1,000.
Jesus.
But like the first part of it was all about, the first part of it was he's just talking about how people don't have the sense of fulfillment they used to get, even though, like, back in primitive times, you spent all your time working on shelter and food. Every bit of your day was spent on shelter and food and surviving. But at the end of the day, you didn't have depressed people because they had fulfillment. And as the Industrial Revolution came around and people don't have to work that hard, they also don't get that sense of fulfillment that they would as a primitive man. And I think one reason I've stayed as sane as I have is because of my job. Because honestly, like, even doing little projects around the house, when you're done, you have a sense of fulfillment.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you've done something good, like you've built something with your hands, and you can really feel good about yourself.
Maybe that's why there's so many young people looking, like, putting all that fucking like mental shit in their bio, like, oh, I have anxiety and depression and this and that, because they want to feel validation and they don't get it through work.
Yeah,
Maybe,
and even primitive aside, like first world countries like ours have a much higher suicide rate than third world countries where that kind of thing doesn't even exist, and if it does, it's a very rare case.
oh yeah, Japan beats.
I don't know, it's like
Japan's
whenever
like
a
top of the
culture,
list a lot of the time. They're
right?
super modernized.
Whenever a culture booms and there's just a wealth of safety nets around everyone, people lose that grind that kind of requires them to think about anything other than all the issues kids have today. It's mainly like right now, it's like, kids in their early 20s or late teens.
Yeah. Hey, the CIA will take them though. I mean, that video
Dude,
was
I would
moving.
say
Wait,
I
I
would
think
say
it's
we
like
got
that.
people
Go
in
ahead.
our 30s and 40s that are like that. Like, people always want to say kids because they don't want to think it's happening to them or people around them. But the more I learn about it, the more I can look at people around me and see that they're not happy with their lives because they don't have any sense of fulfillment.
Well, Rezzy, what are some things that you think might bring people that sense of fulfillment, at least, the older folk?
Oh, Ted even talks about this, is like having hobbies in itself are people's self mechanism of trying to get that fulfillment they want. Like the whole idea of having a hobby. So I would have to say, like, if you are feeling that way, what's something you feel strongly about? Try to find, if you ever had an inclination of building something, maybe you want to work on a charity, but find something and put your all into it. And if it's not inconveniencing you in some aspects of your life, then you're really not putting your all into it.
Do you have a hobby that's besides shit posting in the podcast?
I like working on stuff. Like, I do home projects. I've always been a car guy. I don't have a car now, but I have a motorcycle. Like, I've spent lots of time. Like, I spent years just dicking with my motorcycle, like taking it apart, putting it back together, taking it apart, putting it back together. Now we got a 3D printer. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, just the idea of, you don't have to be a fabricator, but you can make a 3D print, and there's some skill into it. It's not unskilled. Like it takes practice, but then you can make a print and go, you know what? I produced that. Like I took the time. I learned how to do it. I troubleshot the different problems I had along the way, and I can feel good about it.
I still need to level my bed. I still need to dig in that website you sent me.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know. I built it
I
the job
I
site.
still need to like sweep my kitchen floor, you know?
Oh, come on, man. I meant level the bed on the printer, dude, on the printer.
I was running a little late today because I'm like, oh, I got like 15 minutes left. I'm like, you know what? I put a print on like a couple days ago and I haven't gotten back to it. I'm like, let me go peel that off and see how it came out. Well, it came out like shit. And I had a problem. So then I'm down there fucking with my printer. And I'm like, oh man, I got to do the podcast real quick. But like, I'm in the middle of this. I'm almost done. Let me finish it up.
Sorry to inconvenience you.
It's good.
Don't get addicted.
Like I said, it's one of those things. I'm like, oh, yeah.
You can so what kind of things do you print, by the way?
Guns.
That's it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna find some roundabout stuff. You didn't have to say that out loud.
for Christmas, my kid wanted to. Her friend liked this. Is either a video game or something anime.
Okay.
And she found this mask online that someone had 3D designed. It was a mask from whatever it was, the video game or the anime, and it was like $11 for her to buy the 3D design. So she bought that, and then I printed it. It took me like 4 or 5 different prints. Like I had to mess with a bunch of different settings to get it right.
Yeah.
But I finally got it right.
Nice.
And then I showed her how to sand it down, and between me and her, we got it sanded down real smooth, and then she painted it. And it was almost like Iron Man colors, like the red, the gold, and the black.
Oh, badass.
And it came out amazing. Like the way she painted it came out great. And she's like, oh my God, he loved this so much. Because you can't, it's one of those gifts you can't buy anywhere.
Yeah.
So like it was a real thoughtful gift. Like I printed off, my kid's into Dungeons and Dragons, so I printed her a dice tower. What it does is you put the dice in at the top, and it like tumbles them back and forth and comes out and rolls them for you. That looks like the tower of what is it, Mordor from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, tight.
Mordor.
So yeah,
nerd.
I printed one of those. I print upgrades for the printer.
You print upgrades for the printer. That's the most self-sufficient thing I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah, you can 80 or 90% print a 3D printer.
Are those on defense deterrence? That site that you sent me, are they on there?
No,
Damn.
But they're out there. They're out there.
Okay.
You like if you get in with that group, like they'll show you where to find it. Or as Control Pew likes to say, iron sharpens iron.
Oh, okay.
So like my one 3D printer broke, so I bought another one and printed out parts to fix it.
Oh shit. Okay, so now you have a backup.
Mm-hmm.
That's tight.
It was $170.
Well, now you can
tax
double your
and delivery.
productivity.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not that productive. It's actually the one's just sitting here.
I mean,
put it all back
they
together.
take like days at a time to go. So I mean, you just have 2 running at the same time now, you know?
Yeah, I don't yet. If I had more money for different projects, I would.
Jay, you got one right?
I did recently, and then I
What have you done with it?
Not a damn thing. I still need to level the bed. I still need to level it, and I need to download different files. But I built it, and then the truck pulled up to pick me up for the job site, and I never looked back.
Mm-hmm.
I go in phases because, like, when you get a project like an FGC 9, takes a week of printing.
Oh shit.
So like you got to be on it. I'm always checking the machine. Like if it's a 3-day print or a 2-day print, I try to check it 3 or 4 times a day and make sure it hasn't fallen apart yet.
Yeah.
And then I'll play with my printer for a month, and then I don't play with it for a month. But when I'm playing with it for that month, I'm playing with it constantly.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'm just like, oh, I can't. I mean, some people are probably more consistent than me, but like I'm either full on or full off.
No, I get that. I definitely get that. Well, Rezzy, I appreciate you coming and talking with us today. It was it's always a pleasure. I mean, I'm sure everyone
Oh, no
knows your
problem.
plugs. Would you like to plug anything else?
Yeah, I'll go through the whole thing. I'm Resurrecting Freedom on Instagram. I'm part of a podcast, the E-Militia Podcast. You can find us on just about every popular podcatcher there is and YouTube. And I have recently been trying to be active on Twitter. You can find me there at Rezzy Can't Spell.
Oh, I forgot. You just got back on Twitter.
Oh,
Yes.
you're on Twitter, huh?
Yep.
Twitter's the
Yes,
only thing I'm not banned from. So once this goes down, like I'm just done with social media, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, and that's the only reason I'm on Twitter is
Can't
because
draw.
everyone I know is banned off Instagram.
Yeah. How are you liking Twitter? I know that you texted me and you're like, nah.
I hate Twitter. It's stupid, but
It is fucking. I hate it so much.
it
So
becomes
fucking-
more tolerable. And like you told me, you're like, I'm gonna share all your posts, and I'm like, I don't care if you do. I don't like if
Wait,
I
hold
don't
on.
get a bunch of followers on there, I'm
One more-
fine. Like I said, I did it just to chat with people I know.
One more time. What's your ad on Twitter?
Rezzy Can't Spell.
Oh yeah, I got him.
There it
It's
is.
got a cartoon picture of David Bowie,
Hell yeah.
Yep, yeah, that's cartoon David Bowie right there.
the Sovereign.
All right, got you, fam.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. Peace.
We the animals take control.